When Michael was just 8, he suffered a traumatic encounter with a stray cat while playing at the park. The wild feline pounced on him, leaving painful scratches across his face and body. The ordeal left Michael with a deep-seated fear and aversion to cats that lingered into adulthood. He made it a rule to avoid any situation involving cats, going so far as to avoid homes where they lived and even making sure none of his friends were cat owners. Michael was certain he'd never allow a cat into his life. But one day, something surprising happened. While out on a job near his apartment, Michael spotted a tiny, shivering kitten huddled beneath a bush. Its soft, pitiful meows tugged at his heart, and though his initial instinct was to keep moving, he found himself stopping, captivated by the kitten's sad, pleading eyes. Against his better judgment, Michael knelt down and extended a hand, letting the kitten sniff him. To his surprise, it didn't react aggressively. Instead, it seemed relieved by his presence. "Look at you, you poor little thing," Michael murmured, scooping the fragile creature into his arms. Despite his lingering fear, a wave of protectiveness washed over him. He couldn't just leave it there, so he took it home, offering it some food and water. Watching the kitten weakly attempt to groom itself, Michael realized it needed more help than he could provide alone. Without hesitation, he brought the kitten to a nearby animal shelter, where the staff commended his kindness and care. "You must be a compassionate soul to go out of your way for a stray," the vet commented as she carefully examined the kitten. Michael shrugged, still trying to process why he'd acted so impulsively. The vet diagnosed the kitten with a severe respiratory infection and malnutrition, but assured Michael that with proper care, it would recover. Relieved, Michael listened as she explained that the kitten would need several days of round-the-clock attention. Though he thought his involvement would end there, Michael found himself returning to the shelter every day to visit the kitten. He felt oddly attached, watching it grow healthier and more energetic with each passing day. Slowly, he grew comfortable around it, even petting it and enjoying the way it playfully batted at his fingers. The once traumatizing memory of his childhood encounter with cats began to fade, replaced by this new, gentle experience. Day by day, Michael's fear softened into fondness. By the time the kitten was ready for adoption, Michael had already made up his mind. He couldn't imagine leaving without it. Taking the kitten home, he knew he had not only rescued it, but also found a new bond that had healed an old wound, turning fear into companionship. When the shelter staff named the rescued cat Finn and deemed him healthy enough for adoption, Michael surprised himself by eagerly filling out the paperwork to take him home. What had begun as an impulse to save a helpless creature had blossomed into something deeper, but genuine affection. Maybe it was time to let go of his long-held fear of cats, or perhaps it was simply the unbreakable bond he felt with Finn from the very beginning. As Michael signed the adoption forms, he realized his fear of cats had faded entirely. Watching Finn recover and grow more playful during his daily visits had gradually worn down his old prejudices. When the shelter staff brought out Finn, now healthy and bright-eyed, Michael couldn't resist picking him up and running his fingers through his soft fur. Finn purred loudly, as if he already knew he had found his forever home. Back at his apartment, Michael transformed his space into a cozy haven for Finn. He bought plush beds, scratching posts, and more toys than any cat could ever need. He spent hours watching videos on cat care, determined to be the best owner he could for his new companion. Each night, as Finn curled up beside him, his gentle purrs filled the quiet apartment, bringing warmth and comfort Michael hadn't realized he was missing. Over time, Michael was amazed at how much joy Finn brought into his life. He had never expected to find such companionship in an animal he once feared. But as the weeks passed, Michael saw in Finn a capacity for pure, unfiltered affection. Each evening, Finn would greet him at the door with a cheerful meow, as if saying, "Welcome home." During playtime, Michael laughed at Finn's comical antics, the little orange furball pouncing and darting after toys with boundless energy. The most cherished moments, however, were the quiet ones. Sometimes, Finn would climb onto Michael's lap, look up at him with those wide, trusting eyes, and settle down as if to say, "I'm safe here." In those moments, Michael felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and love for his little companion. Finn had not only healed Michael's fear but also filled his life with a new sense of purpose. The cat who had once been a terrified stray now had a home, and the man who had once been haunted by a traumatic memory now had a loyal friend. Together, they had both found a new beginning, proving that sometimes the most unlikely connections can bring the greatest joy. In those quiet moments with Finn curled up on his lap, Michael's painful childhood memories faded. Finn, with his gentle purrs and constant affection, had filled Michael's life with love he hadn't known he was missing. Michael had long ago sworn off cats, but now he found comfort and companionship in this loyal little friend. Soon, however, Finn would prove he offered more than just love. He was also a protector. One night, while Michael was sound asleep with Finn beside him, the cat sensed danger. The sharp smell of smoke had filled the air, unnoticed by Michael. Instinctively, Finn began pawing at Michael's face and mewing frantically, refusing to let up until Michael stirred. Groggy but now alert, Michael's heart raced as he caught the distinct smell of smoke and noticed a faint orange glow coming from the kitchen. Jumping out of bed, he hurried toward the source of the light and discovered a small fire had ignited. A dish towel left too close to the stove burner was now ablaze. Realizing the severity of the situation, Michael knew they had to evacuate quickly. His immediate concern, however, was Finn's safety. Wrapping the confused cat in a thick towel to protect him from the smoke, he held him close as they made their way to the front door. To Michael's horror, when he opened the door, he saw that the hallway was engulfed in flames, their usual exit completely blocked. Thinking fast, Michael pulled back and assessed their options. The only other potential escape was a small bathroom window on the opposite side of the apartment. Without wasting a second, he dashed toward it, clutching Finn tightly to his chest. The window was narrow, but it was their only option. Carefully, Michael used his free hand to break the glass and clear the frame, creating an opening large enough for both him and Finn to squeeze through. He maneuvered them through the window, ensuring Finn was securely wrapped and protected from the broken glass. As they dropped down to the ground outside, Michael held Finn close to shield him from the impact. Once safely outside, Michael unwrapped Finn, who looked up at him, wide-eyed and calm. In that moment, Michael was overwhelmed with gratitude for his brave little companion. It had been Finn's quick instincts and unwavering loyalty that had saved them both from what could have been a tragic outcome. Michael knew that Finn was more than a pet. He was family. This small, resilient creature had given him companionship, healing, and, on this fateful night, a second chance. Once safely outside, Michael quickly pulled the fire alarm to alert the rest of the building, then called 911. Firefighters arrived soon after to put out the blaze that had spread from his apartment. As he stood there holding Finn, watching the fire being extinguished, Michael couldn't stop replaying the harrowing events in his mind. If it hadn't been for his cat's sharp instincts, he knew they might not have made it out in time. From that night on, Michael's bond with Finn grew even deeper as he fully realized that his furry friend had saved his life, just as he had once saved Finn's. With Finn by his side, Michael began to rediscover the simple joys he had once shut out, letting go of fears and burdens he had carried for years. This little ginger cat, who had been nothing more than a terrified stray when they first met, had healed a part of him that he hadn't even known was broken. Finn had not only softened his once rigid outlook on cats, but had also gently reintroduced him to the warmth, love, and spontaneity he had lost touch with over time. Michael's journey with Finn began with the simple act of rescue, a compassionate impulse that had led him to take in a kitten he'd never expected to love. Over time, that compassion blossomed into a bond that defied Michael's old beliefs about cats. Where he had once felt only fear and distrust, he now found comfort, companionship, and an unexpected sense of joy. As he marveled at how Finn had opened his heart, he realized just how much his life had been transformed by this small, furry companion. Taking Finn everywhere soon became second nature to Michael. He proudly toted Finn around in a specially designed pet carrier, and together, they ventured to nearby parks, visited friends, and even made appearances at local pet-friendly events. Michael delighted in introducing Finn to friends and neighbors who quickly grew fond of the friendly, spirited little cat. In fact, some were surprised to learn just how deep Michael's attachment to Finn had become. He shared with them the story of how Finn had once saved his life, recounting the night when Finn's keen senses had woken him up to a dangerous fire in his apartment. It was a tale he told with gratitude, often met with wide-eyed admiration from those who couldn't quite believe that a stray kitten could grow into such a loyal, life-saving friend. Over the months, Michael found himself transformed in ways he would never have anticipated. He was no longer the man who had carefully avoided any home with a cat or recoiled at the mere thought of being around felines. Instead, he had become a devoted cat dad, a title he had once scoffed at, but now embraced wholeheartedly. Finn had a growing collection of toys, cozy beds, and even a few sweaters that Michael would proudly dress him in during the holiday season. He had gone from feeling threatened by cats to feeling protective of his own, and the shift was remarkable to those who knew him. This change extended beyond just his feelings about cats. It had reached into all aspects of Michael's life. With Finn's presence, he found himself more open to connections with others, more willing to engage with the world around him. He was no longer as quick to dismiss friendships or opportunities, instead choosing to approach new experiences with the same curiosity and warmth that Finn seemed to embody. The little cat had taught him patience and reminded him of the power of forgiveness, showing him that it was possible to let go of old fears and embrace a life of compassion and kindness. Michael even began volunteering at a local animal shelter, inspired by the bond he had with Finn and the impact a single act of kindness could make. He enjoyed working with other stray animals, understanding now how powerful it was to give a scared or injured creature a second chance. Each time he saw an animal find its forever home, he thought of the day he had first brought Finn into his apartment, feeding him, comforting him, and ultimately saving him. And each time he saw a once fearful animal begin to trust again, he felt a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment. His fear of cats had once kept him from so much, but his love for Finn had opened doors he hadn't even realized were closed. Finn changed Michael's life in ways he hadn't anticipated. With Finn by his side, Michael's world gained a warmth and depth he had longed for but hadn't known he was missing. Each evening, as Finn curled up on his lap, Michael often reflected on their unlikely friendship, how a man once haunted by a childhood fear of cats had formed such a powerful bond with a stray kitten who needed shelter. Somehow, they'd found each other just when they both needed a fresh start. Their story became a beautiful example of the unexpected connections that life sometimes offers, showing how the very things we fear can end up bringing the greatest joy and healing. Michael's journey with Finn reminded him of resilience, kindness, and the profound impact of love. Each day, he felt grateful for the serendipitous encounter that had brought Finn into his life, a relationship he now treasured deeply. As Michael reflected on his life with Finn, he marveled at just how drastically things had changed in ways he never could have anticipated. What had initially seemed like a spontaneous, almost impulsive decision to rescue a stray kitten turned into something far deeper and more transformative. The act of bringing Finn into his life became a journey of healing and discovery, a bond that redefined not only Michael's understanding of companionship but his entire perspective on trust, connection, and the unexpected beauty that life could. Before Finn, Michael had lived in a state of guardedness, shaped by the lingering trauma of a childhood encounter that left him with a deep fear of cats. That fear had become a wall, one that he thought would remain permanently in place. Yet, against all odds, this tiny, vulnerable kitten had somehow slipped through the cracks, patiently chipping away at Michael's defenses with every purr, every nuzzle, and every instance of unconditional trust. Finn had a way of making Michael feel safe enough to let down his guard, teaching him the comfort that could be found in vulnerability. What began as a small act of kindness turned into a profound life lesson as Finn taught Michael to embrace the unpredictability of life rather than fear it. Finn's companionship revealed to him that sometimes it's the unexpected connections that bring the most meaning, that open the doors to new ways of seeing and experiencing the world. Michael was surprised to find that, with Finn's quiet presence, he could let go of his need for control and allow life to unfold naturally. Each day spent with Finn taught him that vulnerability could be a source of strength, and that kindness, even toward a creature he once feared, could transform both lives in unimaginable ways. As their bond deepened, Michael felt a renewed sense of hope and purpose. He discovered the joy in everyday routines he had once taken for granted. Mornings with Finn by his side, evenings spent watching his playful antics, and quiet moments of calm as Finn curled up on his lap, all became precious, grounding rituals. The once empty spaces of Michael's life were now filled with warmth, laughter, and the reassurance that he had found a true companion. Finn was more than just a pet. He was family, a friend, and a source of unwavering support. Looking forward, Michael knew that life would hold its share of challenges and unexpected twists, but he no longer faced them alone. Finn had shown him the power of resilience, love, and the beauty of second chances. Their story, a journey from fear to trust, from isolation to connection, was proof that the smallest acts of kindness can set in motion incredible transformations. Michael knew that whatever the future held, he would face it with newfound courage, knowing that his loyal friend would be right there beside him. Their journey was just beginning, and for the first time in a long while, Michael looked to the future with excitement and hope, grateful for the adventure that awaited them both.